morning, everybody, and welcome to our Steve Taylor Community Connection Show. We have the heartbeat of Toledo. Now, there's a couple people I consider to be heartbeats of Toledo. Number one, Trisha Culp, she's one, and the other one is Bishop Robert Culp, who we have the pleasure and the honor of interviewing this morning. Mr. Culp, how are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well.
Good. Thanks for coming in. We really do appreciate it. I have to tell you, I was a little bit skeptical to approach you and ask you to come in, just in case you said to me, no, I'm not coming in.
No, it's a joy and a privilege, and I appreciate it. In fact, this agency has been good to me. I've bought several cars here in times past. They gave me very good deals.
Nice.
And if I need one in the future, I know where to go.
That's good to hear. All right.
Thank you for your business, sir. Well, there's a couple of things I want to ask kicking off. In your life, okay, now that you are retiring, you're having a big party a week this Saturday, May 20th. In your life, how do you feel about your life legacy? Just give us some insight of how you actually feel about that.
Okay. When I came to Toledo in 1961, I came down the Anthony Wayne Trail, past the zoo. I said, oh, this town's big enough to have its own zoo. And my driver had been here before, but he got lost. And we saw downtown, we liked that. We wound up passing the university, the art museum, all of these places while we were trying to find the church where I was the candidate. My wife and I decided if the church doesn't turn us off, this is where we want to spend the rest of our lives. Big cities frightened me, it was just too big.
Right.
And small towns didn't challenge me. Toledo was just the right size, even though back then it was larger than it is now.
Right.
But it was just perfect for us. And the first Sunday after they called me to be their pastor, I got up and announced, "Till death do us part." And we went home with the woman who was hosting us, because we had moved here at that time. And she only set my wife and I plates on the table. I said, "Aren't you going to?" She said, "No." She says, "I don't feel well." I said, "Well, can I pray for you?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, why not?" She said, "Because you're the one that made me sick." I said, "What did I do?" She said, "You announced you were going to spend the rest of your life here." She said, "I can't imagine having the same pastor the rest of my life." But it's actually the way things worked out. Other opportunities came, but Toledo was ideal. I'm a bit of a, I'm not that emotional about a lot of things. Toledo's kind of a laid-back city. When I came here, I, familiar with the migration from the south to the north.
Right.
These were Alabama and Mississippi people, a lot of them migrated this way. And I said, when I first arrived here and got to know some of the people, I said, these are the folk that didn't have what it took to make it to Detroit. So they said, so it's my kind of town. It's
Nice.
a laid-back town about things, and I've enjoyed immensely my years. In fact, opportunities to retire elsewhere have been presented, but my wife and I decided we want to spend the rest of our days right here.
Beautiful, absolutely. Steve?
We're lucky to have you, and
Yes.
lucky to have you as long as we've had you in Toledo. So you've seen quite a few changes probably over the years. You said you came in 61,
Yes.
so you've been around 62 years in Toledo. What advice do you have for maybe some of the folks watching, or even for Terry and I, on what we can do for our city to even make it better? I'm sure there's some things that you've seen over the years, and you've talked to your constituents. What do you think?
Well, first thing I would say is that, in my view, unpaid commercial here for you, that you're already doing some excellent things. Taylor Automotive has just been special. As I said, that's part of what drew me to start dealing with your dealership right here. In fact, I still, Taylor Cadillac in Toledo, I was just there in the last few months. I just always, you're a class operation, and I like style and class and doing things
Well,
right.
thank you.
Well, and this particular location here in Perrysburg has been very good to me and for me. So that I've appreciated what you've contributed for the future, these kinds of things that you're doing, because you're covering the whole population. You're dealing with youngsters as well as seniors. So just keep it up would probably be what I would advise and
Well,
would
thank
like
you.
for you to do.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I really, really appreciate that, Mr. Matu. I gotta hug you on that one, baby. Thank you very much for that. I mean, coming from you, that is, that's something I would never ever forget. The other thing is, I think in our lives, we tend to have one or two people that's really had a significant impact in our lives. And I know I have, I'm sure you have, Steve, as well. And I just want you to talk about that a little bit. Maybe give us two people that's had a significant impact in your life.
Okay. Obviously, the first one was my own flesh and blood mother. And she was not only a good person, but she was very active and had an ability to see, to dream bigger than just her immediate circumstance. In fact, she was the president of a national organization for a number of years. She was always reading and studying and growing. She put that in me. When I was a kid, I would play a while outside the other kids, but I'd go inside, get a book, and they'd want me to come back out and play a little game or something. I'd say, no, I gotta finish this book first. She never insisted on it. She just always admired it and commented and commended me on my reading and my willingness to listen, to hear what adults even had to say when I was a kid. So my mother was very influential. Secondly was a clergyman. He was from Philadelphia, the opposite end of the state that I was from. But he came to my church and he kind of adopted me, and I really could relate to him well. And he did that for me almost literally. If I was thinking of doing something wrong, to me, he had eyes to see me from clear across the state, And so he impacted my life a great deal. And I studied him, model of what a minister should be like. Probably the third person is one that has influenced as many people as anybody in our country. That's Martin Luther King. I was a junior in college when the Montgomery bus boycott took place. Before it was over, one of his friends pastored a church in Anderson, Indiana, where I was going to college, and he had him to come. My tradition, church-wise, you didn't get involved with worldly things, stuff that was outside the spiritual realm. But he opened my eyes and helped me to see that God was not just interested in his church. He had the church there to have an interest and help change the world.
Right.
And that's really where I got my vision, my dream of what the church and what a clergyman should be about. I didn't come to Toledo simply to pastor a church. I came here to impact the culture of the city, and I got that from King, that everybody is a part of your responsibility. You're accountable to God for them all. And I just pursued that since I've been here.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Well, impactful. Well, you definitely have impacted our city, and we appreciate all you've done. You're definitely a legend. Before you go, though, I'm talking off air there, you told us a little bit about all the ball you played overseas. And Terry, I always say, if you don't know how good an athlete Terry Crosby is, just ask him, he'll tell you. Look, he's smiling, he knows. But let's hear a little bit about maybe some of your travels and the ball you played overseas.
Oh, interesting. But by the way, Terry deserves whatever attention and accolades we give him.
That's true.
He's an excellent athlete, set an excellent example.
Now see, you just blowing it now, cause excuse me, I'm gonna talk even more now. Good, cause you said I can.
Yes, and when I was in college, we were in the small college, Anderson University, and we were in the same conference with Taylor University in Indiana. Taylor has excellent worldwide connections. They produce probably more missionaries in the world than almost any school. So their coach took a liking to me and my style of play and knew that I was preparing for ministry. So invited me to be a part of what we call back then Venture for Victory, Athletes in Action.
Okay.
Right,
Those are the names used for the group. And I actually was involved in the mid-50s when it was a fairly new entity. It actually afforded me tremendous opportunity, not just to travel and see the world, because we probably played in 20 or 30 different countries. I went for 2 years to the Orient, and really, we sat down to dinner with Chiang Kai-shek,
Wow.
Free China. I mean, because his wife was a Christian.
Right.
And the other good part was, at ball games, they literally, the security had to throw people back into the crowd so we could play the game. There were so many people who attend our games. I mean, literally thousands. We'd have 15, 20,000 people at a game. And the stands were only hold $10. So, that was a great experience and gave me opportunity to see the world. There were real risks involved. I can still remember in the Philippines, we would almost wager with each other which of those little fields was the airport down there. But several of those pilots were what the Chinese called the Flying Tigers. They had World War II, they were famous pilots. And these little airlines had hired a lot of them. And we went to places that Americans seldom get to visit. But it was to play ball, but it was for Christian purposes and was very fulfilling for me. And I'll tell you a funny story. In the Philippines, a Chinese man owned the 7-Up distributorship in the Philippines. And he was a good Christian. And he watched us play ball, sent a missionary to me to say he sponsored the 7-Up team, which were the national champions in the Philippines, and made me an offer. It just happened I was the only bronze-looking one there, and so the crowd would identify with me.
Right.
So he wanted me to stay there. He made me an offer with a sum of money I never imagined I'd ever make. So I was ready for it. And the team was leaving. I said, well, I want to get oriented to this all and go back home, but I'm coming back. The missionary told me that you have to marry his oldest daughter. It's a Chinese custom in the Philippines.
Okay.
So all the Chinese girls that I had seen were so lovely.
Right.
I said, well, that'd be a joy. To this day, that was the ugliest Chinese girl I ever saw. I haven't been to I really
Oh no.
Just an amazing, not amusing, but an amazing experience that was afforded me as a ball player to get this experience around the world. And I learned something from almost every country I went into. One of the key principles I've operated by here in Toledo is I have no enemies. The Bible already tells you, love your enemies.
Right.
But I've always sought to make them my friends. And I said, we may disagree, but we can still be friends.
Nice.
And it's probably been the secret to how I've been able to relate to people. because I regard nobody as an enemy. We may
Beautiful.
disagree, but because we're friends, we can find a solution to our problem.
Oh,
We
that's-
need more
that's fine.
leaders with that
Yes.
philosophy today.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Good words of advice. Well, Terry, I think we could sit here all day and listen to stories.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
I
we
think it's
certainly can.
fantastic.
It's just one last thing I want you to mention. You have a retirement celebration party coming up. And Steve, I really appreciate the fact that our Taylor Automotive family, we're supporting
Absolutely.
you. I will be there. Just
Appreciate
just
that.
remind us when that is. Is it next Saturday, I believe?
Yeah, it's May 20th,
Yes.
next Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. Technically, I've been retired since last September.
Okay.
They wanted to keep me working some, so they put this dinner off until here in May. But I'm looking forward to
Yes.
it.
And is that at the Hilton Gardens? I believe it
You
is.
probably know better. I think
Right, right.
it's the Hilton Inn down there.
Yeah, the Hilton Inn, Hilton Toledo. Yes.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
And, hope I've earned all the nice things people will say. It's retirement time.
Yeah. Well, you've done a magnificent job, and you are a true legend. You really are, and I feel really honored to sit here in front of two legends today. Okay. People might say I'm a legend, but really it's number one, number two, and then I'm third. Okay. Let's just keep it real. But we really appreciate you coming in. We hope you enjoyed it out there. The phenomenal, legendary Bishop Robert Culp.
Thanks for
See you
being
soon.
here today.
Oh,
Congratulations
sure.
and good luck.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time.